Chapter 5 Storm of Hatred. As Lyra marched out to confront Radiant Hope and the rest of the protesters, she reflected on her earlier conflict with Caramel. She wasn't really angry with the stallion. Lyra didn't hate closeted ponies. Caramel's cowardice was just a byproduct of the overall intolerance that was plaguing their society. Her anger towards the stallion stemmed from living in a world where a large percentage of the population still considered same-gender attraction to be a mental sickness. I was determined to give this holier than thou Hellcat Clydesdale-sized piece of her mind. Excuse me. Lyra and
Oh shit.
Bonbon stood between Atomic Fate's family and Nurse's cold hearts. Radiant Hope shielded her daughter from the mares as though she feared their lesbianism was a communicable disease. Numerous murmurs and boos rose from the crowd as Lyra stared down Radiant Hope. Atomic Faith managed to keep a stern exterior, but on the inside she was doubled up with a giddy excitement. He had managed to use Berry Punch as an example of a foal raised by an unfit single mother. The added bonus of getting a lesbian couple on stage during the climax of their speech was more than Atomic Faith could have hoped for. The news cameras kept rolling as the father approached the two mares. It's not surprising that a pair of lesbians would want to work at a sperm bank, Atomic Face said loudly as he put a hoof around his wife's shoulder. It enables the filly foolers to keep in close contact with the only part of a stallion they begrudgingly admit they need, his seed. With that line, a lot of stallions in the crowd began to laugh and jeer at the mare. Some gave each other hoof bumps and exchanged winking nods. Actually, Lyra said, shouting above the noise, I just work here for all the free porn I can read. The laughter from the stallions died quickly. They may have been closeted-minded bigots, but they weren't complete prudes, even if they didn't agree with the mayor's lifestyle choices. The stallions in the audience still had to respect some pony who took a job to get unlimited free porn. Atomic Faith was visually shaken that Lyra had managed to silence the crowd, and it unnerved them that another pony here possessed such a commanding presence. Glowing Charity cowered behind her father, shaking like a leaf. Daddy, the filly said, protect me from the gayness. Wow. Leaving the other members of her family behind her, Radiant Hope approached the mares, eager to start a fight. So be honest, the mother said, as he sauntered up to the unicorn. Did you too start working here for the employee discount? Did they have a special deal for lesbian couples who want to get knocked up together? Buy one turkey baster and get the second one free? The crowd laughed uproariously as the mother gave the mares a smug smile. Lyra raised her right arm with the underside of her hoof facing upwards and extended out towards Radiant Hope. What? Do you want to shake hooves? The mother asked. Forget it. Between your personal life and your work environment, there is no telling where your 50 hooves have been. I don't want to shake your hoof, Lyra said, straining. Tears of frustration formed in Lyra's eyes as she continued to hold her hoof out. It's just at the times like these, I really wish I had fingers. I only need one for this. Lyra... Bonbon was one of the few ponies in attendance who knew what Lyra was talking about. As part of Lyra's hand obsession, she had studied a group of griffins to learn the different uses for fingers. She was one of the only ponies alive who could fluently read sign language. As her insistence, the griffins also showed Lyra several obscene hand gestures, one of which she was currently attempting to recreate. I think it's the middle finger. To flip them off, which without much success. In spite of their improper presentation, the sentiments behind the gesture resonated through every fiber of Lyra's being. You want fingers? The mother laughed at the unicorn's particular quirks. You poor thing. I guess you're just doomed to spend your life longing after things you are never designed by nature to have. As Bonbon stood listening to this abuse, she knew that she couldn't let Lyra wage this battle alone. This fight for love and tolerance was as much as hers as it was Lyra's. Bonbon stepped forward, standing in a lockstep with her mare friend. The Earth Pony was determined that they would weather this storm of hatred together. Now there's a riddle for the Sphinxes, Radiant Hope mused to her fellow protesters. Who makes a worse mother, a pair of sober lesbians or a single drunken mare? Chuckles and murmurings rumbled throughout the crowd. They sounded like thunder to Barry Pinch, who was trapped in the midst of it all. The sound was scarier than any natural storm. You can say what you like about me and Lyra, Bonbon said. her face growing red with anger. But I would stand silently while you slander a mother who isn't even here to defend herself. Of course she isn't here, a stallion shouted from the crowd. We weren't giving out free booze. The rest of the protesters laughed. Barry Pinch, realizing there was no escape for her, curled up on the ground and silently cried. I don't know Barry Pinch's mother personally, but I'm sure she's a better parent than you'll ever be, Bonbon said. She came to this conclusion after she heard Barry Pinch speak. For all of the mother's flaws, she had still managed to raise a filly who was kind. I see you're as poor a judge of parenting skills than you are picking at life partners, Radiant Hope said dryly. Her mother, Barry Punch, is a raging alcoholic and was one step closer to having her filly taken away from her for good. She's still done less harm to Barry Pinch than you ever done to glowing charity, Bonbon said. Barry Punch only poisons her body with wine, while you poison your filly's mind with the same hate and intolerance that has corrupted you and your husband. You taught your daughter to fear those who are different from her. Not having a foal of your own, you can't comprehend the full lengths of a mother who will go through to protect her filly from the evil influences, Radiant Hope said icily to Bonbon. Do you hope to be a mother someday? Leave her alone, Lyra said, stepping in front of her mare friend to protect her. You should all just get the fuck out and mind your own damn business. Lyra's horn began to glow. The white mare took a hesitant step back, fearing for her safety. Lyra, stop, Bonbon said softly, resisting the urge to start melting faces. Lyra listened to her mare friend and stopped. Bonbon had often thought about becoming a mother someday, but she wanted to have a commitment ceremony with Lyra first. They didn't need to prove their love to each other. She just wanted to make sure everything was nice and legal if foals were to enter the picture. I think it will be wonderful to raise a foal, Bonbon said, blushing. Lyra gulped. The two mares had never seriously talked with each other about the prospects of starting a family before. Lyra considered herself to be an immature little filly trapped in a mare's body. Bonbon had enough time cleaning up after the two of them. The unicorn didn't know how her mare friend would be able to clean up both of their messes and keep up with a foal too. Putting her own childish tendencies aside, Lyra felt compelled to support Bonbon in this crucial juncture. You bet your ass we want foals, Lyra said to Radiant Hope with mashed apprehension. Bonbon gasped as her mare friend I can't fucking pronounce that word. Sorry. As her mare friend I can't fuck it. Her feelings, unable to contain her joy, Lyra and Bonbon hugged Lyra around her neck and kissed her cheek. The mares in the audience looked at Lyra and Bonbon with disgust, fearing their love as something abhorrent. Aberrant? I don't know. What the fuck are these words? Some of the more Sally-ish... I can't pronounce these words. I'm sorry, everybody.
What the fuck?
Fucking big words. No offense to the author. No offense to the author. I know he's trying to make this a good story. Some of the more stallions who had just seen a peck on the cheek were secretly hoping to see things escalate into a full-fledged filly fuller makeout session. Nice. Your desire for children is your natural motherly instincts taking hold, Radiant Hope said optimistically. It's a shame that you're both suppressing some of your other natural instinct. Oh no, Cohart said. She knew where this was going. Radiant Hope had used this tactic before on several lesbian couples who had come to the cryobank. It never ended well. You both long for a foal of your own, the mother said to Lyra and Bonbon. The fact that you both want something you can't possibly give to each other should make you realize that what you're doing is wrong. Two mares weren't meant to be together. It goes against nature. Filly foolers who can't raise a foal together any better than let me read that again. Filly foolers can't raise a foal together any better than they can create a foal together. These words sunk into Bonbon's heart like an icy dagger. She knew they were true, but at the same time, it was still difficult to hear. Her heart beat fast as she felt hundreds of judgmental eyes staring into her soul. Overcome with grief, Bonbon broke down and started to cry. The lamentations of her mare friend sent Lyra into a rage. You self-righteous bitch! Lyra shouted at the mother. Her horn and eyes glowed with magical energy as she slowly started to walking towards Radiant Hope. Hard Peace and Tough Love watched anxiously for a sign to move in and tackle the unicorn. Atomic Faith never gave any signal, so the two stallions stayed put and kept Barry Pinch from leaving. How dare you? Atomic Faith growled as Lyra as he stepped forward to stand beside Radiant Hope. No pony talks to my wife that way, you filthy foul-mouthed mare muncher. Lyra wanted to make the pain and anger in her heart go away, but if she couldn't do that, she settled for frying the husband and wife's faces off with magic. She charged up her beam, and as a humming sound emitted from her horn. You don't scare me, Atomic Faith sneered. You're not going to try something so stupid as to assault me in front of a news camera. What Faith failed to realize was when Lyra got angry, her foresight was the first thing to go. She was seriously prepared to fry them both and damn the consequences. All she had to do was to wait a few more seconds until she was fully charged. No crap. No delusional pearl polisher will be able to destroy a nuclear family. Atomic Faith gloated. My wife and I have a pure love that can only be felt between a mare and a stallion, and nothing will ever come between that love. At that moment, there was a loud rumbling sound heard from overhead. Lyra stopped charging her beam and looked up. Every pony else was in attendance also looked up. At the rest of the cryobank employees stood atop of a bank. Frigid Wind held a small gray storm cloud in her hooves. Out over the edge of the roof, a string tied around the cloud connected to a large balloon filled with specific fishes. Shoot, I can't fucking pronounce it. God damn these words. Liquid. The balloon was floating above Atomic Fate's head. One of the cooling rooms had broken yesterday, rendering all the samples inside unusable. Instead of disposing them in a conventional manner, the cryobank staff had pooled their resources to create a makeshift liquid protester deterrent. We hope you enjoy this free sample, courtesy of the Ponyville Cryobank. Frigid Wind said, if I were you, I'd start running. Before an errant lightning strike pops the balloon and you will really have a bad day. In the back of her mind, Nurse Coldheart knew this act would not endear their cryobank to the community. She decided not to worry about it for now, as the sight of their husband and wife paralyzed in fear was just too good to ignore. Atomic Faith and Radiant Hope couldn't move a muscle. They stood stone still and stared at the liquid as it sloshed down inside the balloon. The crowd's respect for the family did not transcend cheap sexual humor. Some of the protesters didn't care who it was. They just wanted to see some pony get humiliated. The thundercloud gave another rumble and a flash of lightning crashed, missing the balloon. Radiant Hope and Atomic Faith both screamed at the top of their lungs. Without another word, they ran down the steps screaming. Frigid Wind gave the cloud a little push, and it began following the couple from the air. Glowing Charity followed close behind their parents, trying to stay ahead of the balloon's range. The crowd backed up as the family approached them. The rest of the protesters were sure to give their organizers in a cloud a wide berth as they moved quickly fast. Unsure of what else to do, Hard Peace and Tough Love hoisted the emotionally exhausted Barry Pinch and followed behind the balloon as its shadow cut a path through the crowd. The husband and wife ran as fast as they could over the hill with a cloud in hot pursuit. Now, I guess that's what you call a comeuppance. Aaron Burnett reported, winking at the camera. I don't get that joke. Once Atomic Faith had ran over the hill with his family and friends, the rest of the protesters turned back to look up at the steps. Lyra was standing next to Bonbon, with Nurse Coldheart to their left. How are we going to get the rest of them to leave? Bonbon whispered to Lyra, we don't have nearly enough semen or balloons. Leave that to me, Lyra said, as she put her arm around Bonbon. Hey out there, Lyra called out, waving to the crowd. Who wants to watch me make up with my lesbian mare friend? Instinctively, all the stallions in the audience raised a hoof. Their wives were shocked and insulted by their husband's vulgarity. All the mares turned to leave for home, taking their foals with them. Realizing the boneheaded mistake they had all made, the stallions followed cautiously behind their wives, apologizing profusely. As she watched the protesters leave, dragging their signs behind them, the full weight of the day's events finally hit Lyra, and she hated it. That's right, Lyra said, crying. That's right. Run! Run, you hypocritical bastards! You only accept filly foolish when we make you horny. It's not fair. You don't treat ponies this way. F you, Equestrian Families United. F you! Lyra slumped down and cried. Bonbon wrapped her arms around her mare friend and cried as well. Nurse Coldheart watched the protesters leave. Before turning her head back to look at Lyra and Bonbon. It had been a hard first day of work for the two mares.